It's in a little bit of a state. Hello and happy Monday everyone, or happy whatever day it is you happen to be watching this. We have a brief break in the clouds and rain that we've been getting recently, so I'm going to take this opportunity to go and work in the chicken coop on this chicken mansion. So let's do it. So this is the current coop. As you can see, it's in a little bit of a state. We've had it for a year and a half now, and it's done a really good job. We didn't get it brand new, we got it from a friend, and they had it for years just sitting in their backyard unused because they never were able to get their coop, or their hens basically, that they wanted. So when they found out we were having chickens, or I was trying to raise chickens, she offered it up to us. It did pretty well. It's just not exactly what I wanted. The birds never figured out how to roost inside, and so as you can kind of see from the top, they sleep on the top, but that leaves them exposed to wind and rain and snow. So the plan is to put something in here. This big old shed. This used to be a stable. The previous owners of the property had horses, and this was in a paddock. So I wanted to use it in here. It's just when I was getting everything set up, I never got it quite right. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see in there, I've already started getting things. You'll see that later in the video. Those are the new nest boxes. I just need to, in the corner over here, get in the roost spots. So once all that's done, then I can tear apart this thing. I wanted a design that was easy to build and access and clean the nest boxes, and a design that wouldn't break the bank. I'm using scrap wood we had lying around to make the frame, and the nest boxes are $2 bins from Walmart. I have the design and building instructions on my blog if you're interested in replicating the design for yourself. I guess now I'll explain what I'm doing and show you how much fun I had playing with power tools. I had two 71-inch long pieces of 1x4 lumber that I used for the long sides of the nest box frame and the supports underneath. Then I used four 13-inch pieces of 2x4 lumber for the short sides of the frame and the nest box separators. I knew the 71-inch pieces would need to be cut down, and after mocking up my design, it perfectly lined up that I needed each piece to be 39.5 inches long. That meant I could cut both long pieces in half and they'd be perfectly cut to the length that I need. I marked where the separators needed to get screwed into place so the bins would fit snugly, but not too tightly I couldn't get them back out to clean them. Here I'm doing a final mock-up and measurement before making any cuts. And it looks good. Time to head to the saw. Always be careful around saws and power tools, especially if you're handling them alone. Keep your fingers clear and wear eye protection when possible. Everything's cut now, so it's time to make sure I had my measurements right. I'm very thankful to my friend for gifting me that coop, because everything I did initially for the coop and run was last minute. I didn't have a shelter set up for the birds, so it was a lot of stress off my shoulders when they offered me the coop. It had a really good run, but it was never exactly what I wanted, like I said earlier, and it hasn't been the easiest design to work with. It's too heavy to lift on your own, and in one of the many attempts to shift it, I actually broke it, which was kind of the final nail in the coffin to rip it apart and build something new that works better for me and for my birds. I mentioned this earlier as well, but the original idea I had for the coop and run was to utilize the old shed stable that was in that pasture. And this year I'm actually getting to the point where it's becoming a reality. Earlier this year I expanded the run out to the space it is covering now. And now I'm getting to the point where I'm installing new lay boxes and new roosting spots so I can access everything easier and it's in better shape and more protected for my birds. To secure the frame together, I'm using 2.5-inch wood screws. This ensures there's enough thread in each piece of wood so they don't fall apart. Now that the first short piece of wood is screwed into place, it should be much easier to get the rest of the frame built. Before I secure the other side of the short separator pieces, I wanted to make sure they were lined up. Each gap needed to be roughly 9 3/4 inches wide, so you can see me adjusting things to match that here. I didn't do any measurements to space out the bottom braces evenly. I just eyeballed where I positioned them since the position doesn't matter to make everything fit properly for these. One final check to make sure those bins fit properly before we go and install it. I picked the farthest corner from the doorway to install the frame to give the nests as much protection from the weather I could. I didn't use any supports, but I can add 90-degree support brackets in the future if I need to. I drilled straight into the wall where the studs lined up to make the connection as strong as possible. The new roosts will go in the opposite corner. This way the birds won't overlap the nests when they're sleeping, and it should help lessen the amount of poop getting into the nests so I don't have to clean them as often. Now that first screw is in place on both sides holding the frame up, I'm adding a second screw to add a little bit more support so they don't get knocked down when the birds are in there. I'm pleased with the position of these and how they are secured, so now it's time to move on to the next step. It's time to fill up the nest boxes. I've got a bunch of shredded paper, so I'm using that today. I've also used wood chips and straw in the past. All of these materials are usable in a compost heap, So once the boxes need to be cleaned out, I can dump them straight into my compost.
Yeah.
Well, I have underestimated, yet again, how long this project would take. So all I got to today was building the frame for the new nest boxes and installing that frame, putting in the new nest boxes. I guess that means I'll have to make another video in the future of putting in the new roost spots and demo day for that old thing. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you want, you can go check out my Instagram and my blog. And I guess I'll see y'all next week. Bye!